Well, g'day everybody. Good to see you all again. And I got to say, thanks for all the regular followers. It's quite cool to see. We've got a consistent following of, just over 3,000 people on YouTube that are checking in once to do this. There's a bunch of them watching it live. A bunch of you there. Thanks for that. But most people come on during the next 24 hours or particularly 12, 18 hours. So thanks for the following, and always love getting your comments, and especially if you're living in some strange, obscure place. It's a bit of fun to see where you're coming from. And thanks for subscribing to the YouTube channel, and thanks for Facebook guys. If you're guys and girls, if you're watching this and you haven't liked GGR, thanks for doing that. I'd like to see the numbers climbing up there, which is kind of cool. And I see Mick Lally is our first person on this morning. Wacko. Today's the 24th of March, and it's Guy Waits Day. So what you're looking at there is exactly where Guy Waits is, and he's about, I think it's about 1,300 miles from Cape Horn right now. And I just had a quick look at the weather, and I'll scroll it through when we get on. And looks like he's got a pretty reasonable weather window for the next 7 days. So that's kind of interesting. And what happened? Gug tied his knot last night about in the early hours of the morning, our time here in Europe. So he was excited about that. We had a good chat on SoundCloud. If you haven't seen it, it's all a bit of fun. And I'm going to share Kirsten's SoundCloud up today. We don't have anyone ringing in today. She rang a few days ago, and she was absolutely very much down on her situation with the Doldrums, wondering whether she'd made the right decisions, and thinking that Abolish is about a week ahead of her. So it's not happening yet, but it might happen. But he might get in front of her in the next few days. But anyway, so that's all good. And Ian's having fun down there. So anyway, straight into the tracker, and we'll see what goes on here. I get on my bit up here. So yeah, this is Guy. He ended up quite high. He got pushed up by a weather system a week or so ago, and he generally stayed up there. So he's still maintaining high, and he's obviously on his way down now. And it's just interesting to watch the weather. I'm never cease to be amazed. So imagine now Guy is up in this position here. I had to get him off the plot. So I'll put the cursor about where he is now, and then just scroll this through. He'll miss that puff, and he's 1,300 miles. He needs, probably 10 days. And this is sort of showing you what's happening over the next week anyway. And there doesn't look to be, that's quite favourable winds for Guy going down there, southwesterly, good solid Southern Ocean southwesterly, but not too much to worry about. That's all the way through. He's got a good breeze, southerly there, but it shouldn't be too bad. He'll be halfway to the Horn by then. That's the 28th, so that's 4 days ahead. 4 or 5 days coming into the 29th. And, generally it's like amazing. The weather's, I wouldn't call it benign, but it's certainly not a lot of raging gales that you'd expect. So there's some stuff starting to heap up there at the beginning of April, but he wouldn't be there by then. He'd be just above it. He'd be up in this lot here. So then again, he's rocketing down. So I think his team and everyone watching can be a bit relaxed in the next few days. It's an anomaly that you get in not winter, we're in spring, but when these systems come through, certainly in winter, you get some of the calmest weather in winter because the systems that come through are massive. They're really big storms, but you have big gaps between the storms when it's really quite calm. What you get in summer is you get a lot of calm, good periods, but then you get these vicious little fast ones that come through. And remembering Mark Sinclair, when he went through, he had 3 on top of each other, 3 really vicious little storms, bang, 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 over about 10, 12 days. And that's what you get. And so in spring now, it's a bit of a mix, but it's good to see that it's not too vicious. Rightio. So what's our mate Ian doing? I think he's sleeping. He might have just turned around. Yeah, I think he's just turned around. He's certainly up. It's dark there. It's nighttime now, and he's been sort of hove to. He rang last night just to say g'day and say, look, this is late yesterday afternoon. This is what he's planning. He's going to come up here. It's reasonably calm now up in this area. You can see here, this is down sort of 1.5 meters. So the sea state is pretty calm. He's in the dark. He'll be stooging around here. He would have got some rest last night. And in fact, you can see if you enlarge this, we've still left him on 1 hourly. So these are 1 hour tracks. You can see what he's been doing there. And he's obviously got up and turned around here. So It's what do we got here? The wind. I'll come back to the wind. It's going to be. It's actually been blowing headwinds, but now it's going to. In another 12 hours, it'll swing around. But it looks like it might even be swinging now. Anyway, he won't be doing much until the daylight comes, and then his plan is to come up here. And if the wind's no good, there's a few anchorages that they can take up. But usually the anchorages are on the lee of the westerlies and the northwesterly and the southwesterly. So if it's blowing from the north, it gets a little bit more challenging for him to find an anchorage. Anyway, that's why it's wrong, because I'm on the wrong weather. Boom, boom, come back here. Yeah, this is the northerly that sort of turned up, and Ian is the gentleman sailor and doesn't like going to windward. So, and this is going to be like this. In fact, it's going to strengthen a bit for the next 12 hours, I think. Oh, that's lightening off. So that's not too bad. It's quite light. Okay, so it was 12 hours from when I looked this morning at 6 o'clock. That's why. And then he's got a more favourable wind coming through late today. Later today, it's going to swing. So that'll push him through and he'll be able to get an anchorage up here somewhere. But the distances now aren't very far. He just hasn't got a lot of fuel. Otherwise, up to here is only 23 miles. So if you're doing 5 knots, it's only 5 hours. And where he's going to is right here, Port Williams. So if I extend that up from where he is now, boom, there's, say, 30 miles. Yeah, near enough to 30. And over to here, another 20. He's only 50 miles away. So that's 10 hours. So he could do it in a day. If he has the right conditions. So let's wait and see what happens. But anyway, he's within reach, and remembering that everything is good on board the boat. It's just the new rudder for the hydrovane and one internal shaft that got bent when the warp of the drogue got tied up in the rudder and overrode the systems. There's also a little issue there with his with that collar at the top. He needs to get another pin and line it up exactly, and then screw the collar pin all the way into the hole. He's got to line it up to the hole. Once he's done that, it'll stop. You hear him talking about the head of the wind vanes free spinning on a knockdown, and then even lifting up. That's because he's not aligned in the hole. So if he can get that lock screw in on the hole, that'll solve the hydrovane head issue. And a new blade, and he should be underway. A new bent arm inside the guts of it. So anyway, that's the situation for Ian right now. Certainly, he's out of the weather and out of the bad systems that are coming through, because there's quite a few little blows coming now. And we'll come back up here to Jeremy. Here he is. Okay, so that puff came through last night. He's on the back edge of it now. And here he is here. So you can see he's got a really strong tailwind. He's currently doing 5 knots. He did 120 nautical miles in the last 24 hours. So that's pretty good. And he's going to get a real kick now going forward. So we'll just bounce that through. No, he's not. I forgot about that. He's going to slow down a bit. He's going to go through the center of that system. There's a little high pressure system that's formed, and then he's going to get some headwinds. But that should swing because it's moving very fast indeed. So when it gets to this point here, even with that northerly, he can come off in port tack and go out into an east-northeasterly direction, which is exactly where he wants to go, somewhere out here. So it's not as bad as it looks, but he's going to have a frustrating day for a while there, for a few hours of going nowhere. And then that's going to increase a bit, but he can actually reach across here, and it's not looking too bad. So that's the next 24 hours. And there's the next 2 days, 26. So jeepers. Okay, so that's going to keep him busy. So he's got some big headwind stuff. Anyway, we'll have a look at that later, and I'll see how that's going to form up. Now it's moving over him very quickly, so he'll generally have a pretty reasonable, strong tailwinds again, from behind. So it's not looking too bad. It'll pass in front of him. I may send him a message just to say stay away from that one. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. Because you don't, in those things that were there, you don't want to get to the centres where you have sudden wind changes. Sudden wind direction change does crazy things to the sea. So remembering that boat was rolled over and dismasted in 3.5 metre seas off the tip of Cape Town in 2018. So anyway, wrong buttons. I'm not thinking here. So now we come up to Captain Goog. I'll put the tracks on, and you can see. You see them? Yeah, he just crossed over his track not so long ago. Hours ago, there it is there. So he tied the knot, which is sort of a funny little benchmark, funny little, oh, geez, I just tied the knot, but you're not up at the equator, so it doesn't count as a full circumnavigation under the people who keep all the records, but it's still nice to know when you've crossed over your track. He was a bit excited about that yesterday. Oh, that's my phone. Sorry about that. I'll just let that go. The situation now for Goog, 5 knots and 98 nautical miles in the day, which is not too bad. He'd be happy with that. And he's going to slow down a bit by the look of this lot. He's coming up into this bland area. It's like another mini doldrums for him. So scrolling it through. Generally light. We thought he might hang on to that. He has got favourable winds anyway in terms of direction, so he'd put his spinnaker up, mizzen staysail, and just keep going for it. So he'll still keep moving, but it just won't be fast. That's the issue for him there. Yeah, he's got breeze all the way through, so he's probably going to be doing 3s and 4s. That's 3s and 4s, which is it's okay. Yeah, and he's got a bit more filling in there the second day. And then, very, very cool. He's not, so he's going to get an easterly there, which will keep him going really well north. It might dictate for him, if we look at this, with this easterly, that's the cheapest, okay. So he's reaching what looks like, yep, that's it. So he'll be into the trades then. So he's just stepping across. The trades are just coming down to him. So that's a good one. And that's as far to the east as he's going to get now. He'll just either basically be going north, following the run line, or if this swings, he'll get squeezed over. But it looks pretty good at the moment because it's it's a nice gradient, and he's nearly there. So he'll be looking forward to that. All right, and now we've got the main game up here, and sadly, it's not looking good for Kirsten. But that's the name of the game for the Doldrums. You can see what's going on. Kirsten's got her own little hole here, but she's been moving. That's a good thing, but she's not at the moment and didn't do much. 64 nautical miles in the last 24 hours, doing 0.7 of a knot. That's not what you call fast. As we suggested, Simon's doing 5.5 knots, still gaining on both Abelish and Kirsten. He managed 130 miles in the last day, so he took out 60-odd miles on Kirsten. And Abelish only did 90 miles, so took out 40 miles on Abelish as well. So, and that might continue for a little bit longer. Anyway, Abelish should be happy with that. He's moving. He's getting squeezed off on the side here, but he doesn't care as long as he's moving and making progress. Any northing at all is what you want to get through the doldrums. So that's kind of as we projected yesterday. And let's just see what's going to happen as it evolves. And you can see there, Abelish has got pretty much the same. He's going to be moving, but very slowly. It's light on the nose. Interestingly, this is the northeasterly trades coming down to meet him, or a residual. And you'd be happy with that for the doldrums. And this is always the shortest, thinnest area to cross the doldrums. So he's looking good. And what's Kirsten doing? Sitting in a hole. What's Simon doing? He's heading up, but he might run out of breeze the further he goes north. And so this is coming up to, there's 24 hours there now. Okay, so 24 hours. Kirsten's basically hardly moved. She might do a 40-mile day. Abelish is probably going to do a 60-mile day, 60, 70-mile day, maybe. But he's got a hole forming, and Simon has he's come to the end of his run. Within 24 hours, he would have sailed off the edge of this and sort of parked a bit as well. So then it's the luck of the draw, but generally, if I just keep rolling this through, you can see generally Kirsten's got a bigger hole than the rest of them. You can see there's a bit of colour there for Abelish. There's a bit come back for Kirsten as well. So yeah, it's neck and neck. Neck and neck. Look at that. Jeepers. Too hard to predict. So, but it's a climb to get up to here. the northeasterly trades, which have all of a sudden gone northerly right there. So that's northerly for Kirsten, which you don't want, because if it's northerly, she's got to tack out to port or starboard, like that. Whereas if it's northeasterly, you can go off on starboard tack and make one leg. So plenty of challenges ahead, and that's interesting. All a bit unstable at that point. If we come back here, not what you call strong northeasterly trades. Anyway, that's pretty much it today. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and have a good day.